an excerpt from David White's Consolations, Pain, from pages 116 to 119. Pain is the doorway to the here and now. Physical or emotional pain is an ultimate form of ground, saying to each of us, in effect, there is no other place than this place, no other body than this body, no other limb or joint or pang or sharpness or heartbreak, but this searing presence refusing to go away. Pain asks us to heal by focusing not only on the place the pain is felt, but also the actual way the pain is felt. It asks us to not only focus on the place the pain is felt, but also the actual way the pain is felt. Pain is a form of alertness and particularity. Pain is a way in. Pain is a form of alertness and particularity. Pain is a way in. Pain is a way in. Through the radical undoing and debilitation of repeated pain, we are reacquainted with the essentialities of place and time and existence itself. In deep pain, we have energy only for what we can do wholeheartedly, and then only within a narrow range of motion, metaphorically or physically, from tying our shoelace to holding the essential core conversations that are reciprocal and reinforcing within the closed-in circle of those we love. Pain teaches us a fine economy in movement, in the heart's affections, in what we ask of ourselves, and eventually in what we ask in others. Pain is a lonely road. No one can know the measure of our particular agonies, but through pain, we have the possibility, just the possibility, of coming to know others as we have, with so much difficulty and through so much suffering, come to know ourselves. Hello and welcome to today's Heartlift. We are reimagining pain today, and we are having a remarkable conversation with Ronda Barney. Ronda is a licensed clinical social worker, a registered dietitian, and she's the author of the forthcoming book being released March 22nd, Dear Susan, Letters of Comfort, Hope, and Peace for Women Facing a Life-Changing Illness. Ronda has battled through her own arduous health journey, but today she's going to be offering us a way to reimagine our pain. Her series of heartfelt letters in Dear Susan uniquely provide tangible pathways. And you know, that is what we are about here in this community. We want tangible pathways for processing the feelings and fears accompanying a life-altering illness. And I just know that even if we're not facing a life-threatening or debilitating physical illness, I know that many of us here in this community, we understand despair, we understand pain. So I know that Ronda's words are going to be so helpful. Ronda offers 3 journaling directives in her work. Do you feel invisible? You're not a burden. And let me tell you my greatest fear. In 2018, she started a draft in her own journaling space in her heart work. And that series of letters were addressed to just a friend she called Susan. Oh, but a few years later, she actually was introduced to a real life Susan suffering from terminal cancer. And I like to say, wow, what a prophetic unfolding that must have been in Ronda's life. Well, let's get to this conversation. Let's meet Ronda. Today, to help us navigate reimagining pain, emotional, mental, physical, relational, spiritual pain, we have with us the lovely Ronda Barney. She's a licensed clinical social worker, a registered dietitian, and the author of the upcoming newly releasing book on March 22nd, Dear Susan, Letters of Comfort, Hope, and Peace for Women Facing a Life-Changing Illness. I really wanted to bring Ronda to our community today, especially during this season of Lent, when we are hopefully journeying with more introspection. We are looking at our own faith walk. We're taking some time for some additional, maybe more strategic and intentional spiritual formation. And I thought, wow, as we're journeying with, wow, it's hard to say that word. I thought as we're journeying and walking alongside Jesus's journey towards Calvary, what more perfect time and space to reflect on this oft neglected subject of pain. And what do we do with this kind of pain? Well, Ronda has battled through her own health journey and faced debilitating diagnoses in her life. And now today she's going to come to us and offer us comfort and hope. And she's a hope lifter and a heart lifter as well. Her series of heartfelt letters in Dear Susan uniquely provide tangible pathways. And you know how we love that here in our community for processing the feelings and fears accompanying a life-altering illness. Susan offers us 3 journaling directives. Do you feel invisible? You are not a burden. And this one, whew, let me tell you my greatest fear. Man, I just faced that in my own journey a few weeks ago, and I have journaled it down a very beautiful path in my heart when I had to face my greatest fear. In 2018, she started the draft in her own journaling space, and that series of letters were addressed to a friend she called Susan. But a few years later, she was introduced to a real life Susan suffering from terminal cancer. What a prophetic unfolding that must have been. And I cannot wait to talk to Ronda. So let's not wait. Let's go ahead and begin this beautiful conversation with Ronda Barney. Ronda, we are so happy to have you here in this community. I have no doubt that you are an exemplary heart lifter, and we want to heart lift you today, but we are also hoping that you will heart lift us. And as I just said before we pressed record, I know that there's not, sadly, probably not one of us in our lives that does not have someone facing an illness, or a debilitating illness. And we've all faced them probably and faced hardship in our life. So I translated your work on so many levels. You know, it's a message for our global pandemic, our collective trauma, our collective pain. And so welcome. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
It's just a pleasure to be here. Absolutely. It's a privilege. And thank you so much for letting me share this time with you and your audience.
I'm so excited. Your book is not yet released. As I said in our intro, March 22nd is the release date. And I'm aiming to get this out for next week because I would love to have it to our audience when your book comes into the world, because I know how important a book launch day is.
Yes.
And so I do not yet have my little hands on it, nor do I have my Kindle hands on it, which is so frustrating, but you do. So you're going to read some excerpts for us today. And I just would love to start and ask if you would be so kind. You do not have to say yes. That's definitely, you have that, as we're trying to develop in this community, personal agency to say no. But would you be willing to give us a little peek inside perhaps that day in your life when you received your own debilitating health diagnosis, and how I know that I have been there with my mother, with my daughter, with myself, with my husband, with many others as a caregiver. And so what, if you would be so kind, maybe help us see how that led you to this journey of writing Dear Susan.
Absolutely. For me, I had always been incredibly healthy. I had always been able to push the edge, push my health, push past, just another cup of coffee or whatever, and just keep going, and in many ways, I think I prided myself in that, and not realizing the damage that I was doing. But my initial diagnosis, I've had several, but the one that really just made me come to grips with my own mortality and fragility literally happened just weeks after my first child was born. And I had waited. I'd gotten married at the age of 33 and had my first child at the age of 34, and had always wondered, will I ever be able, will I have this baby? Will I have this marriage? Will I have this family? And I was watching these dreams come true. And we had literally taken out a life insurance policy after my son was born, and my premiums came back just incredibly much higher than my husband's premium for the policies. And so being a clinician, I ordered my blood work to find out what in the world, so basically that I could contest it.
Oh, how smart.
And when I looked at my blood work, I realized some things were really wrong. And so long story short, I was diagnosed with something that could potentially be fatal if it wasn't treated. And and there was only with the research that I was doing at the time, it was like a 50-50 shot whether or not the treatments would work.
Oh, wow.
And so
wow.
I remember holding that baby and wondering, all my dreams just seemed to dissipate. Am I going to raise him? Am I going to be his mother? Am I going to see him grow into adulthood? Am I going to be the one that, will he know? Just all those questions.
All of the million of questions, for sure. Yeah. The sinking feeling, I think.
Yes. Yes. And I found myself literally crying on my bedroom floor, just begging, begging for healing, begging for, answers. And thankfully they did come. I mean, it took the treatments. It was a few years later that we found out that the treatment worked, and I was, clear. Everything was great. In the meantime, I'd also been able to have a little girl. And so, yes, a family of 4. And I was just absolutely thrilled that, it felt like that was just a chapter I could close, and I could just go on with my idyllic life is what,
let's get back to normal, as we're hearing everyone say. Let's just get back to normal, because of course, what the heck is normal?
What is normal, right?
But we so desperately want a normal, don't we?
Yes. A normal that we can predict, or that we can feel like we can control. Yes. I felt like I was going to get stronger and stronger, and that I would regain this normal. And my body got weaker and weaker over time, and I found myself bedridden, and in a situation that doctors weren't even sure exactly what was happening. And so I was like this mystery patient that what is going on. And so and it took many, 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 many years to unravel the layers of health issues. And during that time, my life changed dramatically on many levels. And even though I was a therapist, helping others,
and a dietitian,
yes, and a dietitian, I found myself in a position of honestly not being prepared for the emotional and spiritual impact that that journey had on me, it literally turned me inside out. I could no longer show up in the world as a wife and a mother and a clinician and an aunt and a daughter, all the, a friend, the ways that I'd always
Neighbor.
walked. Yes. And
it's very isolating, I would think.
Absolutely. I felt very alone, very isolated. And I didn't even understood what I felt. And so it was hard to explain to others sometimes. And so that brought isolation because I felt like I was in my own prison of pain at times. And as much, and this is even in one of the letters, but as much as I wanted people to understand, I also, I knew no one could step into my skin and feel exactly what I was feeling. And nor would I want them to, there's nobody that I would want to inflict that pain on. And so often I found myself minimizing or ignoring or, some of our
repressing in a sense, repressing your own, because to me, it's trauma. It's traumatizing. It's so big.
Yes.
And quite honestly, we both know that we do not know how to handle that as people. And so one of my strong initiatives here is to equip and empower people with words and communication skills with which they can stand in the presence of someone where they are literally speechless and don't know what to say. And scripture is very clear in those moments. Just weep with those who weep, right?
Yes.
And, that's just all you can offer sometimes. I know myself, and people are well-meaning and they want to say, I want to say the right things. But your situation sounds like one of those serious mysteries in life. I've had several friends that, you just go, what on earth is this?
Yes.
Because we want to comprehend. I would think not only do you want to, but the people around you, grapple with the mystery.
Yes.
What do we do when something is so mysterious, even a prognosis or a diagnosis? Is that a safe statement?
Absolutely. I think for me, there were a few things with that. First, I felt shame because there wasn't a reason or a diagnosis.
And so it wasn't a breast cancer. It wasn't that kind of thing. Right.
And we did get those diagnoses with time. We did get them, but there was a long time that we didn't have them. And then for me, even when I did get the diagnosis, some of the treatments weren't working. And so my body, there was this sense of, because when I did find the diagnosis, I remember celebrating, okay, if I know what's wrong, I can fix it, yay, I have, but
I remember at 28 going to an internist and hoping and praying that he would tell me that I had, something really serious, when in fact he said, you really have childhood trauma you need to deal with. It's locked inside your body. And your body keeps the score, as we now know. So I know what you're saying. It's like we just want the tangible when something's so intangible. So what did you do with that then? I mean, how did you we say in our community here, shift shame to grace? So shift that shaming language to gracing language. Did you find something helpful there?
Yes. In fact, there's a letter in here about that where and it's called The Body Is For You.
Would you read that for us? Would you mind? Okay.
Sure.
Not to put you on the spot, but
yes, I'd be happy to. Let me flip to it.
Okay.
Let's see.
I think that would be so powerfully helpful.
Okay.
I literally cannot wait till this downloads on March 22nd. I looked again today. Is it going to come early? No.
Here it is. It's called Your Body Is For You. Dear Susan, you may be feeling as though your body has let you down. It's not responding the way you had hoped. It isn't healing fast enough, or not at all. There are days when it seems your healing road will never end. Oh, dear friend, I hear you. I have felt the sting of discouragement when my body did not heal as I expected. It was a painful blow. As the days of treatment turned into months and years, I was left with a deep sense of shame and embarrassment as I wondered if my body was somehow defective. Why wasn't I healing? I had always enjoyed good health and had taken for granted the miracle of thriving that happened in my body every day. I had expected to complete the treatment protocols and be back in the flow of my normal life. When that wasn't my reality, I was confused, disappointed, angry, and very scared. I'd invested all my energy and resources into healing, and yet I didn't see the fruit of my labors. In my dismay, I felt my body had betrayed me. Over time, my anger softened and my heart began to feel empathy. I realized I had taken advantage of my health and harshly pushed my body as a servant doing my bidding. For the first time, I saw the abuses it had endured, and as I wept, I also began to hear the cries of my body. Gradually, my heart felt compassion for this earthly vessel that had thanklessly served me. Year after year, it had quietly fought on my behalf in a million ways I did not see or know. It was for me, not against me. No, it wasn't betraying me. My body was desperately trying to protect me and bear the burden of my illness. I grew to see my body as my ally. I embraced it as a cherished and trusted friend worth hearing, loving, and thanking. My healing journey was no longer about making demands or fighting. It was a path of patiently supporting and lovingly caring for myself through all my ups and downs. My dear friend, your body fights for you too. It is designed to look out for you. Yes, it is trying to do the very, very best for you. Love it, thank it, sit with it. Allow the awareness of your body to connect you to it with compassion. Touch your face and hands. Your body is a beautiful masterpiece created in the likeness of God. Even when it hurts, it is not betraying you. Giving your body empathy, patience, and grace. Give your body grace. It fights for you. I know our relationship with our bodies can be complicated. If it has been abused, don't hate it. Don't reject it. It was not the perpetrator. If you abused it in some way, apologize and release regret. Forgive yourself and honor your body as it honors you. Give your body forgiveness for not being perfect, for being mortal, but also delight in its miraculous power and ability to heal. Picture it healed. Speak wholeness over your body. Our thoughts and words are incredibly powerful. Your body prepares and responds as if your thoughts are reality. Caring for your body with loving thoughts and words can be a catalyst for wellness. And even if your body doesn't completely heal, your spirit can abide and rest in a place of compassion, safety, and love. Your body is a gift, uniquely yours. It is working on your behalf. Give it love, give it grace. Your body is ready to be embraced. With a heart of love for you, Rhonda.
Heartlifters, just take a moment and allow those powerful words to just soak into your spirit and let your body feel them. Rhonda, you said so many things in there. Oh my goodness. I think the greatest one for me is that your body is your ally and your trusted friend, because the body, as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says to us, does keep the score.
Yes.
And I love that you spoke to it as a loving friend. And I mean, I didn't anticipate this conversation, but I think, you know, I do a lot of somatic psychological study.
Yes.
Because my body has continually spoken to me. And when you said that, you know, you didn't say it this way, but you tried to warn me, you put up with me, you fought, you know, is that coming from a very high functioning human posture in your life? Or you just a very high functioning person? that you like type A-ish. Maybe I want comfort here, but that's what it sounded like to me. Like if I were to write a letter to my body, I would have said that same exact thing. And I think I'm going to. I think you've challenged me because I just found out I have a torn labrum in my hip. I've been a dancer my whole life. Once again, I'm
Oh.
pushing myself. I'm 62. I think I can do, what I did at 18.
Mhm.
My body absolutely speaks to me. When I broke my back, it said, stop bending over backwards.
Mhm.
When my esophagus stopped, it said, stop swallowing all
Mhm.
this crap and stop repressing.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying to us? Tell me what that's about. Woo.
Yeah. It was
Rhonda.
that one letter that I, read in
Ooh.
2 minutes, was years of, and so my heart here was just to give somebody a taste, just to sort of lead in a direction that they would go on their own journey. And I
Yes.
know for me, I I had grown up with some trauma, and so I was
Okay. I
repressing
wanted to ask you that, but
unknowingly.
thank you for bringing that up. That's
Yeah.
my trauma. I'm trauma. That's what I do. So I'm sitting here like wanting to honor your space, honor your
Mhm.
story, but thank you for bringing that to the table because
Yeah.
I definitely have quite most of my clients and most of the people that come to me are trauma informed, and
Yeah.
their body has fought for them. Their body has kept the
Yes.
score, and so they just cannot link the two. So thank you.
Yes. And what I found is that over time, I wasn't paying attention to the signals in my body. I
Okay,
was
like
very, yeah, I ignored pain. I just ignored being tired. I ignored,
ah,
um, I there were certain, and as I began to rest and heal, like
mhm,
I would notice things in my body, in my rib cage or different places.
mhm.
And then I would also, while I was feeling certain emotions, I would feel certain things in my body. And so I
Yes.
began to make the connections that, wow, like, and I,
Hmm.
and so there's also a letter in here on mind body connection, because I
Yeah.
started to realize that there there was a connection. And yes, I had physical diagnosis. I had
Yes.
there I
Yeah,
was
you will
I was
have them. They will
yes,
show up as that.
yes, and I was an infectious disease nightmare basically. But so there were like things that, I had a port. There were things that I had to
Mm.
physically attend to. But what I found is that instead of hating my body for letting me down or betraying me, um, realizing that my body was my friend and my ally, and that for years it had been fighting things that I had no idea, and honoring it, giving it compassion, giving it grace,
Mhm.
and allowing myself to feel the things that I needed to feel, and noticing where those feelings were even in my
Oh,
body.
thank you.
And yeah, and just
Thank you.
letting myself cry, letting myself,
Yes.
yes, just experience certain emotions. And one of the things that I say in the letters too is you don't have to do it alone. And I don't,
Mm.
as a therapist, we know like sometimes
Mhm.
when people start to feel, they need extra support
They
around
do.
them. So I
Yes.
I encourage people to seek out a therapist, seek out somebody that can help bring containment and
Mhm.
understanding and soothing and all
Yeah.
the things. So I'm not, this is deep work, but it's
It is
so
deep work.
possible. It's so
Yes.
possible. And I had trusted friends around me that
Mm.
were like what you said earlier. They just sat with me and let me
Mhm.
grieve and let me
They didn't try to
cry.
fix you. They didn't
Mm,
try to bring the
mm-mm,
solution to the table. Right. Which is what I think we so responsibly want to do. That's the well-meaning part,
yes,
is, oh my gosh, how can I alleviate your suffering? Especially if you're a more empathic, person.
yes.
But I think, I also, on the other hand, it did you feel that's one of your directives that you give in your journaling? I brought them to the table before we began. Do you feel invisible? You are not a burden.
Yes.
And let me tell you my greatest fears. That second one, I I would imagine you did.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's actually the very first letter in the book.
Okay.
Because I think it is something that most people I think are going to relate to. And it was
Mhm.
one of the hardest things for me because here I was, a mom of two very small children, and a time in my life where, I was the one that was responsible for, my husband and I, in tandem were
Well,
responsible.
the mom is the center of the universe.
Yes.
She
For
just
your little
is.
kids, they are. They are. They really are.
Even to
And
grown-up kids. I'm sorry. It's
yes,
so true.
yes. And so,
What happens if mom's down, you know? Oh, dear Lord.
right,
Yeah.
moms don't get sick days, right?
Yeah,
So
they don't.
yeah. And what I'm just going to throw this in there.
Please
And this
do.
isn't necessarily in the book, but one of the things that I learned was not to put that on my children. My
Oh, please. Okay. So you're so in the spirit, my friend, already, Rhonda. I wanted to bring this to the table because without disclosing anything, but let's say children lose their mother. Let's say mom, we're going to focus on moms today, women.
Okay. Yes.
Let's say mom receives a debilitating diagnosis or illness, and the littles are little,
Yes.
or maybe they're teens, or maybe they're littles to 20 years old. How do you navigate that? I would love for you to give your wisdom, because I know families in that situation right now. And I know moms who didn't share anything. They tried to just project joy and I'm good and we're going to make it. And they didn't deal with the debilitation or the possibility of the passing, dying. So do you have, let's share your story. Thank you so much. You're so in the spirit.
I there's so many nuances to every situation
Yes.
that you just
There's no blanket
mentioned.
formula.
So yeah, it is hard. I can speak into what my experience was.
Yes,
So
that's all we ask.
when I hit my rock bottom, my son was 6 and my daughter was just turning 4.
My
And
goodness.
and I was going to out of state to a specialized treatment center for 6 weeks. And so
Oh,
my daughter, I took her with me, and what I did was I arranged like for people to come and stay with her while I had treatment, that kind of thing, because I
yep.
felt like she was too young.
She's so young. Right. Well, and the
understand.
thing about your education, Rhonda, is you understand attachment.
Attachment. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Attachment. I knew that it was just so important.
Critical.
And so my son was 6. And so he and I had, I handled it a little bit different with him. He was in school and I couldn't, so, yeah, my husband stayed
Kept
with
the
him, and then I
schedule.
had
Right.
friends. So he had his, his dad
Stability.
and his grandparents came, and just, we planned a lot of special things for him. I wrote letters that they gave him, at bedtime and things like that, so he would know. And we talked on the phone, and
Beautiful.
we just, all those things, just to try to keep also him
Connected.
Knowing that mom was there and that mom was thinking of him, and all of those things. So through it, my daughter, honestly, at the age of just turning 4, literally, because I was going to the treatment center, she had her birthday. She was supposed to have her birthday while I was in treatment. So we told her it was her birthday 2 weeks before.
Yes.
Big party, but anyway.
We're just going to have birthdays. Why the heck not?
She didn't care, whatever,
It's a party.
So, that's actually one of the things I learned
That's
too, is
fantastic.
flexibility. It's flexibility, like you're creating your child's experience. And
you're just making them feel loved, safe, seen, secure. They belong to a group that loves and celebrates them. Bravo. Bravo.
And that was my primary, is that they felt that their needs were still being met. And I never wanted my children to feel like they had to take care of me.
Right.
So
wow,
that was one of the things that and so, yeah, there were nuances there of my son understood that I was sick, and the way that I tried to explain it in a fashion that the 6-year-old could understand.
6-year-old fashion.
Yeah. And I just, I was like, son, you know how we always run and play at the playground? And I said, right now, mom is having a hard time doing that. And
Mhm.
so I am going to go see some doctors that are going to help me get
Beautiful.
back to the place where I can run with you on the
Beautiful.
playground again. And so that was his,
That's
you know,
lovely.
he didn't need to know my diagnosis. He
No.
didn't need to know the prognosis, but
You didn't put the responsibility or any unneeded weight is the way
yeah,
that I love to describe that. You know, it's like you handled it by giving him just enough to carry in his
yeah,
little body.
yes, that would be an explanation of acknowledging there's something wrong here and mom is unable to do these things, but we're taking action to
Yeah.
fix that. And it's going to take a little bit of time. And so things are going to have to change for a little while in our house.
But also invite him in, I think. Invite him into the journey of having to understand pain and sorrow, and life's not all birthday parties.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yes.
Just
Yes.
enough. You got to
Yes.
hold joy and sorrow, as we know,
Yes.
and we have to integrate them. That's what we call eudaimonia, a meaningful life, a life filled with strife and struggle and pain and joy and happiness and all the things.
Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you for sharing that. I think that's so helpful. And I wish that I had known how to do that when mine were littles, but we're navigating that now in life when they're in their 30s. You know, what we always like to say is when we know better, we do better.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so